After the American media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them just spent basically the whole day talking about, oh, Marco Rubio is going to announce today. Oh, Ted Cruz is going to announce today. Oh, Jeb Bush is going to. Right now, Bernie Sanders is announcing, and none of the networks are covering it, in my opinion, because the owners of those networks don't like his message. But here he is right this minute announcing his run for president.
So that's the major issue. The major issue is how do we create an economy that works for all of our people rather than a small number of billionaires. And the second issue, directly related, is the fact that as a result of the disastrous Supreme Court decision on Citizens United, we now have a political situation where billionaires are literally able to buy elections and candidates. Let's not kid ourselves. That is the reality right now. So you got the Koch brothers and other billionaire families now prepared to spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in elections to buy the candidates of their choice, often extreme right-wing candidates. I'm the former chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee, and I can tell you I don't believe that the men and women who defended American democracy fought to create a situation where billionaires own the political process. That's a huge issue that we've got to deal with. Right now, in terms of issues, we have a Republican Party with virtually few exceptions that does not even recognize the reality of climate change, let alone that it is caused by human activity, let alone that the scientific community tells us this is the major global environmental crisis that we face.
If you're just tuning in, this is Senator Sanders live announcing his candidacy for president.
In transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. Real unemployment in America is not 5.5%. If you include those people who have given up looking for work, people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time, real unemployment is 11%. We need to create millions of jobs, and the best way to do it is to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. And I've introduced legislation to do just that, create and maintain 13 million jobs. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, young people, bright, young, able to keep kids, cannot afford to go to college, and others are leaving school deeply in debt. In Germany, countries around the world, they understand that you tap the intellectual capabilities of young people, you make college tuition in public universities and public colleges free. That's my view as well. So there are enormous issues facing this country. Now let me conclude by saying this, and I say this to the media. I've never run a negative ad in my life. I've been in many campaigns, and you ask the people of Vermont, they will tell you Bernie Sanders has never run a negative ad. I hate and detest these 30-second ugly negative ads. I believe that in a democracy, what elections are about are serious debates over serious issues, not political gossip, not making campaigns into soap operas. This is not the Red Sox versus the Yankees. This is the debate over major issues facing the American people. Honest people. My conservative friends differ with me, and that's fine. That's called democracy. That's a good thing. But I would hope, and I ask the media's help on this, allow us to discuss the important issues facing the American people, and let's not get hung up on political gossip or all the other soap opera aspects of modern campaigns. Thank you. Let me just take a few.
There's just announced that he is running for president of the United States. Fox News carried it, but MSNBC ignored it, CNN ignored it, and I'm assuming all the big networks, well, they haven't so much covered these kind of things as they happen either. But here's the thing. Bernie is opposed to TPP. That's probably going to get him locked out of CNN and MSNBC. Bernie is he's opposed to the whole free trade concept. And that's a problem for them. He's in favor of net neutrality. You know, these are topics that you pretty much can't discuss. Or if you do, you can only do it in a very surface way on these big networks, because these big networks are owned by big corporations that don't want net neutrality and do want TPP. Just two of many issues. I mean, these networks are also owned by and run by millionaires and billionaires who don't want to see their taxes go up. So there's going to be a real effort here to marginalize Senator Sanders, and I think it started just now. In fact, it started this morning. I mean, in the run-up to Marco Rubio's announcement, it was like from 6 o'clock in the morning until he took the stage at 3 or 4 that afternoon, whatever time it was. That's all anybody talked about. Same with Ted Cruz. But Bernie Sanders, no, they're ignoring it. Why would they do that? Because corporate America doesn't like his message. That's going to be his biggest challenge. But I'm telling you, those of you who are old enough to remember 1992, do not underestimate Bernie Sanders, and do not think that he is making this run to have an impact on Hillary Clinton. He is making this run because he's seriously running for president of the United States. As was Ross Perot in 1992. And now Ross Perot had a bunch of stuff going against him. He had a vice presidential candidate who was barely coherent. Admiral Stockdale. And I mean, a good guy, nice guy, probably very, very well qualified, but just not media savvy. He wasn't, barely coherent. He was barely media, Who am I? What am I doing here? Was how he introduced himself in the vice presidential debate, as I recall. But Ross Perot, on just one issue, trade, got 20% of the vote. 20% of the vote on one issue. And Ross Perot was a troglodyte on everything else. He was anti-union. He was he was opposed to equal pay for equal work laws for women. He was opposed. Frankly, I can't remember the whole long list, but Ross Perot was a conservative who was opposed to trade policies. So the question then becomes, where is America right now? Is America with Bernie Sanders, or is America with all the various other people who have announced for president? And I just, I want to go through this one more time. This is solid polling, 1,500 likely 2016 voters, Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, a poll conducted by GBA Strategies for the Progressive Change Institute. You can find this online very easily. And they just said, okay, here's a bunch of issues. What do you support? Do you think that the government should be able to negotiate drug prices for Medicare and Medicaid? 79% of Americans say yes. Republicans say no. To the best of my knowledge, Hillary Clinton has not weighed in. I'm not even going to get into Hillary on this. 79% of Americans say yes. Bernie Sanders is absolutely yes. Republicans say no. Give students the same low interest rates as big banks. In other words, let students borrow money at less than 1%. 78% of Americans say yes. Democrats, Republicans, Independent, universal pre-K 77. These are Senator Sanders' issues. Universal pre-K 77%. I mean, these are not explicitly his issues, but these are the kind of issues that he's fair trade that protects workers and keeps our jobs here, rather than this so-called free trade giveaway. 75% of Americans. See, Ross Perot could still run. 74% end tax loopholes for corporations that ship jobs overseas. 73% end gerrymandering. 72% let homeowners pay down their mortgage with their 401k. 71% disclose corporate spending on politics and lobbying. 71% required the NSA to get warrants. None of these things are on the agenda of the Republican Congress. Not one of them. And yet more than 70% of the American public want these things to happen. And the only candidate that I know of who is going, and I've just started this list. There's another 30 things on this list that I will be sharing with you as we continue through the hour. I'm curious your thoughts on Senator Sanders' run. I'm telling you from where I'm sitting, and I'm not speaking for Senator Sanders. I'm just speaking for myself. I think this is serious, and I think there's a chance.